children were forever changed by their experiences. Those children were our great-grandparents, our grandparents, our parents, and our elders here today. For many who were forcibly removed, the trauma they experienced remains a daily part of their life. Trauma that has remained.
Greetings and good morning, everyone. Thank you for that beautiful blessing, and thank you, Governor, for your wise words. It's such an honor to be here to join you all on the ancestral homelands of the O'odham and Peepash people. And thank you to the Gila River Indian community for graciously hosting us today. Federal Indian boarding school policies touched every single Indigenous person I know. Some are survivors, some are descendants, but we all carry the trauma in our hearts. My ancestors, many of yours, endured the horrors of the Indian boarding school assimilation policies carried out by the same department that I now lead. This is the first time in history that a United States Cabinet Secretary comes to the table with this shared trauma. I launched the Federal Indian Boarding School Initiative in 2021 to undertake a comprehensive effort to recognize the legacy of boarding school policies with the goal of addressing their intergenerational impacts and to shed light on the traumas of the past. To do that, we need to tell our stories. Today is part of that journey. Through the Road to Healing, our goal is to create opportunities for people to share their stories, but also to help connect communities with trauma-informed support and to facilitate the collection of a permanent oral history. Phoenix is our fourth stop on the Road to Healing, which is a year-long tour across the country to provide Indigenous survivors of the federal Indian boarding school system and their descendants an opportunity to make known their experiences.
There's not an Indian person in this country whose life hasn't been shaped somehow by these boarding schools. And so you coming here to share your story today is meaningful for me and for us and our team, as the Secretary noted, on a personal basis as well.
They call me April Ignacio, and I am providing testimony on behalf of my family. I am a citizen of the Laveen Nation, and my family in particular has 5 generations of boarding school attendees and survivors. And they wanted their children to have some opportunities, so they agreed that having a Western education would be beneficial because the Mimirgan Americans were not going to stop coming. So they migrated to the village of Kamshkurawawsit, which name was changed to Cells after the BIA set up their agency. It's a familiar story for most migrants who want to ensure their children have a better or brighter future. But when they arrived and settled in Cells, they learned that the agency school was set up for white children of the BIA agency and Indian health employees. So their only option was to send their children away. Although I understand that this tour is specific to the federal boarding school system, I think it's important to state that the federal government was funding mission churches and giving Christian religious groups jurisdiction over tribes in the late 1800s into 1960s. The abuse they suffered during their time at Escuela continues to impact our familia in ways I'm still peeling back and processing. When my younger grandmother's dementia began to worsen, she told the same stories. One of those stories that I can recite was about how they split her tongue for speaking up. And for some of them, it was the first time away from their families. And the loneliness was sometimes overwhelming. And my younger grandma was a good storyteller. She was funny, she was beautiful, and she liked to make people laugh. In fact, I can still see her smile when I close my eyes. So as she told it, she was taught speaking O'odham, trying to comfort these children, trying to make them laugh so they could forget about being sad.
I first of all want to acknowledge my people. I am Hopi. I'm from the village of Walpi. But to acknowledge the Hopi men that aren't always mentioned about the endeavor they took to protect their children, and were actually imprisoned on Alcatraz because they would not allow their children to be taken from their homes, and they hid them in the rocks. And I want to honor all the parents of the children that were taken away. If you can just imagine watching your child be yanked from your arms, not knowing if you'll ever see them again. I want to acknowledge those parents of having to deal with, I wonder what my child is doing. And a lot of them weren't very educated, so they couldn't write letters or communicate with their children. The things that happen in the boarding school that maybe other people aren't aware of that happen there. We of course were treated like a military school. We had detention, we had details, we had to line up and go in to go eat and come back. For those of you that were at Phoenix Indian School, I haven't got the privilege to work at Wahanda, and I'll remember Wahanda was our little bookstore, our little store. But there was a thing that they did in the Indian school, and that was they would send the kids out to do outings. And what these outings were was the kids could go out and earn money, spending money. And so a family came and picked me up and took me to their home. And the task that they wanted me to do was pick up dog food in their house. This dog had, I guess they let this dog run through their house, and it would go to the bathroom behind the couch and all this stuff, and they said that that's the outing that they wanted me to do. And I refused to do it. I was like, I'm not going to pick up dog crap. And so they told me that I needed to go back to the school. So they sent me back to the school. And at the school, I got severely punished for not doing what that family had asked me to do. And I was never allowed to go out on another outing because I refused to do it, because I just felt that there's no reason that I should be doing that. And then I started to wonder, I wonder what happened to some of these kids that went out on these outings, that nobody ever followed up on them. Could things have happened to them that they didn't speak about? Could they have been paid for things that duties they had to perform? And because, we're taught at the Indian school that you just follow directions. You do what you're told.
I just think it speaks so much to the importance of representation. Because I think if we didn't have the first Native Secretary of the Interior, he would have carried these stories. It's really important.
The time where when we ask for the truth, it's going to come out. It's the feelings, the emotions, the need to share these stories. It's so brave of survivors and family members to come forward to share these truths, and they're painful. It's painful, and the U.S. government and churches who ran these boarding schools made sure that it was painful. They made sure that the students were ashamed of who they were, so they would remain silent.